Hope you are all well. I have been watching the episode of Four Corners from last night. Hopefully, you all saw it. If you haven't, it's definitely worth checking out. It was hosted by Stan Grant, who I was talking to someone on Twitter yesterday, just saying he's got to be one of Australia's best wordsmiths at the moment. I just can't think of anyone else off the top of my head who's kind of speaking about, at least about race and Australian society in the same kind of way. So it was really interesting, and I was excited to see what he produced through that episode. What I also found interesting was the continuation of some of the stuff I've looked at for my research, which is looking at the connections between American protests about racial discrimination and what happens here in Australia. And um, Stan Grant was talking about how he was listening to people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as he grew up, and learning from them about how to speak back against, speak back to whiteness and white power and authority um, and privilege. So I was thinking back on some of the other research I've done around race and education, and just thinking that part of why we've almost had to look to the US is because people of colour were able to access higher levels of education much sooner than here. So I think the first Indigenous scholar went to university here in the 1960s, and whereas in the US, people of colour were able to go to universities much earlier, like the 1800s. And I wish I had more exact dates, but I did not look this up beforehand because it's Facebook Live and not a academic paper. But yeah, so I can see how there's kind of continuities, and thinking through that even more, I'm just wondering how some of the changes in education policy, especially around tertiary education, are now going to impact the way people are excluded, and limit people's ability to speak back to power the way that Stan Grant was last night, and also, how people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were. And there are so many other people. These are just kind of the classic go-tos, right? So I think it's worth considering that, because the amount of money people are going to need to get into tertiary education now, especially for the arts, is going to be astronomical. There's definitely going to be a growing kind of class division there, or there's only going to be a certain class of people who's going to be able to access that. And if we say that there's no class, in no class hierarchy in Australia, that's a lie. That is a lie. So that's going to be an issue. But then add race in on top of that, and the histories of marginalisation and exclusion in education anyway, I'm really worried it's going to just compound everything. So I won't be the only person who's concerned about this. I've seen this discussion on Facebook. I'm just contributing to it. But I just was thinking how much what the Four Corners episode was doing to kind of reflect some of the issues we've had in the past, and how they might continue on as we go through this next phase of teaching and everything like that. So I don't know. I'd really like to hear what everyone's thinking about this. What else people got out of Four Corners last night? If you haven't caught it, I'm sure you can get on iView pretty easily now. I'm not sure how accessible it will be to people overseas, but it would be interesting to hear what my friends in the US think as well, about how their leadership is speaking to an international audience, and how, if they've been thinking about that at all, and that broader impact. I'd be really interested to hear about that. Yeah, so that's what's on my mind this morning. But hopefully everyone is keeping safe Yeah, this whole corona thing, I haven't checked the figures today, but I assume the numbers are still going up here. I heard on the radio that they're thinking about doing a really hard lockdown of stage 4 here, which is not nice because I'm still enjoying getting a coffee, even if it's with my mask on in the morning. So, how very Melbourne of me. Anyway, so take care, everybody, and I'll keep these discussions going and hope that we can keep it going in the comments section or some other way. All right, take care.